yeah, you were gonna tell me about how Domestic Girlfriend resolved itself.
Yeah, so I went in the cold recluses of quarantine life to see what manga I hadn't finished or hadn't started, and a friend of mine who'd been reading Domestic Girlfriend, our favorite dumpster fire, told me how it ended, and then I had to see it for myself, on the online scans and all that hoo-ha. And God, so we both enjoyed Domestic Girlfriend to some sort of schlocky degree. You'd say so, right? When we watched
Yeah,
it,
there were a good hearty amount of laughs and shit like that. Like, I can't say
it was like a
like it's like The Room, where it's like this dumpster fire that's really entertaining.
kind of, yeah. It's like, The Room is a good comparison with just like, except it just buys into itself so well. But to just surmise, if you remember, there was two girls, Ruri, and who was like the one who was of age, the younger, and then there's the teacher one who I can't remember her name. Starts with an H.
Who is her
Whatever.
sister?
Yeah, her sister, the teacher, the older one,
Yeah.
both becoming. It looks like by the end, just to synopsize this really quickly because we're not actually
Spoiler
talking about.
spoiler warnings for the manga end of Domestic Girlfriend.
Yes, in this video about an entirely different anime feature film, but just to quickly surmise it, so it looks like Ruri's gonna win, the race for this guy's penis, and
I mean, that's how the anime ended. Was they were like, oh, we'll give it a shot.
that she sneaks into the picture and then she's like, you're all mine now, because they got discovered, and so, or pseudo discovered, and so they start dating, and at this point in the story near the end, main character dude whose name I can't remember has impregnated Ruri. So
Whoa.
they're dating, and this happens, and so everything starts to swing very quickly. He asks her to marry him. They tell their parents. The sister, the teacher, the older sister, basically co-signs the marriage, saying like, you have my blessing, this is a beautiful thing. And it looks like it's, ready to wrap up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And right at the end, like as all this is about to like conclude, they just rail the teacher, like the older sister, like she gets hit by a vehicle, she she gets put into a coma, and Ruri basically bails out of the wedding, says I can't marry you, but I'll still have your kid. And then they fast forward like 5 years into the future.
What?
And yeah, so like, they're co-parenting very healthily, and now Ruri is like, to the main guy, to the protagonist, she tells him, you know what, you can marry my comatose sister, essentially, because he's like, I want to have a symbolic wedding with this vegetable woman, because she's the one I actually love.
No.
And so,
No.
like, so he gets the wedding ring that he bought originally for Ruri, and brings it to this incapacitated woman, and is like, I love you, and you were the one I always loved, and this is how it's gonna end. And so their daughter, the daughter of main protagonist Ruri, like,
Yeah.
in her alone time, she's like, auntie, you're supposed to put the ring on your finger, and like just kind of slips the ring, I think, which was on a necklace, slips it from her neck onto her finger. And then as she puts it on her finger, she wakes up from the coma.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
And they're like, wow, daddy, mommy woke up or some shit. Or auntie
That's
woke
not
up,
your
so-
mommy, that's your auntie.
Yeah, your auntie. So basically now it's like even more stupidly relationship-wise complex, because now that daughter has like a mother who is also like,
Her aunt.
her aunt, and her aunt who's also like her, formative. Fuck, I don't fucking know, but it's like complete garbage. And like this is like there's an extra chapter which is just all cheesecake, which I can't talk about what's on there because we'd get banned. But
Oh wow. Okay, so it's just,
yeah.
it's just hentai. It's just straight up hentai.
it's just it's pretty schlocky. But anyway, we're 5 minutes into this fucking cold open for a completely different anime film.
I mean, to be fair, the anime we're talking about is also rated PG-13 on Netflix. So it's
I guess.
no, it is. It straight up is.
Really?
You know why? It's because the grandfather, he smokes, and so that immediately bumps it up.
Oh my god, so
But anyway.
corny. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I need to. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you
So
process that.
There's so many things wrong with that. And I mean, aside from the obvious, right? Of like that's just like that's shit you would hear from like Murray and shit like that.
Yeah, this is definitely
but-
Springer level of like stupidity.
Yeah, but also just like I guess that's what they're going for, and I can't really like I can hate on it for sure, but I can't really like fault it because they're trying to be trashy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like, and antithesis, like, we talked about Domestic Girlfriend in another podcast. And I mentioned how the main protagonist just gets what he wants at the end of the day. You know? And like shows so little struggle or effort in obtaining what he wants. Now, that being said, what he wants is a relationship, and like the dichotomy of like relationships and how much effort you put into is like a complicated subject matter. But in this case, it's really like I got my career, I got my girl, and I got my side piece as well. And it's just like,
yeah, he got it all, and like, you know, he's like in the future now. He's like a formative, like, you know, he wanted to be a writer, and like it all turned out. And so, God,
you know, it's one of those things where it's like I can't fault him for anything, but at the same time, he did nothing right.
he's a very
He has no struggle, he has no course, he has no like, you know, no sacrifice. He just gets everything, and like it's easy to hate on that person, you know.
Yeah, because he's like the alpha Chad who's not really an alpha Chad. Like
he's not an alpha. He didn't work for anything.
Yeah,
he just gets given anything.
Yeah,
he's
he
a
just
fucking
gets the
spoiled
rewards
brat.
of it, yeah.
So anyway, sorry. I know. Yeah, we'll jump off of Domestic Girlfriend. Although I think there is something tangential to what we're gonna talk about.
I guess I feel like I have to put like that in the fucking title at this point. Like,
yeah.
Like a small conversation on Domestic Girlfriend. Anyway, whatever. Let's move into the main subject today. Of course, What's up, Internet? It's Brando and Christopher House. Welcome to the Otaku Remix Podcast. Today we're talking about a new Netflix original animated film, which is also kind of, you know, which is a good thing, I think. Not the film itself, but the notion of them creating anime. Already getting into it. But yeah, A Whisker Away just premiered last month, as of this recording, in June of 2020. We saw it and we thought this is a fantastic opportunity for an accessible anime film that we could talk about. It comes from director Junichi Sato, he's a very prevalent figure in the shoujo anime world, from Studio Colorido, which has a lot of people who worked on EVA, you know, Evangelion, and who worked on Spirited Away. So a pretty colorful team.
The original Evangelion or the remakes?
Genesis, yeah.
Oh wow, okay. So whoever didn't go over to Trigger.
I know, right? Yeah. But moving forward, so yeah, it's a very pretty film focusing around a love story around a girl named Mio. It's a middle school romance on a girl named Mio and her middle school crush, a young boy named Kento, and a little bit of the mystical elements that surround their romance and the fact that she can turn into a cat, and that's how she spends her time with Kento. So a lot to dissect about this movie, but just in general, as I usually ask, Chris, I know that you have your impressions of this film. Go ahead and just...
I mean, it's pretty simple to diagnose. It's like, on a story and plot level, very mediocre. None of the kind of tropes that they're following are really fulfilled upon. Like, there's the trope of the mask salesman who, you know, like, steals part of your life force to let you change, like it's more or less a demon offering you demonic power, but there's a cost. And
yeah,
like,
very Majora's Mask, very like yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of Japanese mythos that goes into this, but like to be honest, like even in Western culture, like, you know, you have these stories where demons come to tempt, you know, humans into doing sinful things, and in this case, it's giving up your humanity just to be somebody you're not. Just to please somebody else and run away from your own issues. And it's like, okay, that's a story. But at the late spoilers, at the end, there's no consequence to her doing this, you know? like it'd be much more impactful if there was an actual consequence to her taking these demonic powers, but instead it's like, oh, we'll just fight the demon, and like that makes for a really unsatisfactory ending to me personally. And it doesn't help that the rest of the plot kind of meanders on its course to that resolution. In terms of the actual animation, it's fine. Characters animate just fine, like nothing stellar, nothing terrible. Probably the standout part about the whole production is the background artwork. Like everything from the town to the the fantasy village that they go to later on, it's all looks very nice and is very pretty, and like there's so many different shots, or I shouldn't say shots, but so many different angles of scenarios that they come up with, and that looks really nice, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, this is an animated feature, so you're kind of looking for good characters, good plot, good animation or stuff like that, and it just kind of falls into the mediocre valley in all those avenues.
Yeah, we had a lot of we didn't really have a lot of expectations. I had seen just one trailer before when you suggested that we see this film and kind of go ahead and see if we can push forward some ideas on it, hoping that it would be a pretty meaningful experience. But yeah, I mean, I agree on a lot of aspects of it, especially in the writing, because you struck out with that, saying that was the most mediocre element, and I think that it falls flat on ideas that could have been more interesting on it. It talks a little bit about the elements of family and the depression. A lot of it is focused on the guy through the perspective of Mio, who's our protagonist in this film, and the girl who transforms into the cat, and in hopes for her love with Kento. And I feel like that being the through line for the film, her conquest of Kento, the whole purpose for her to transform into this cat is first and foremost to make him fall in love with her, or just to spend time with him, to understand him.
That's the primary aspect, is to spend time with him and to let him express himself in a way that he feels he can't around the average person.
Yeah, and like I've had not too many other people to talk about with this film, but like 2 or so people that have seen this film besides you, and it's like they're kind of uncomfortable with her motivations.
Really?
A little bit, like they are a little manipulative.
Can I ask, are they dudes as well?
Are they dudes? One is a female.
Okay, fair enough.
One is a female. In general, I just think I chalk it up to like I chalk it up to like juvenile attraction, and just
right.
And so it's like it's not like perverse or anything like that. It's very much it's very innocent in a way of just like wanting to be near someone that you find comforting. And I think that the elements of that story, where she kind of uses the mask to get away from the other elements of her life and kind of open up and be, I don't know, more in the way that Kento can kind of just be honest around the cat Taro, like, which is just Mio as a cat. Same thing for her, how she can be honest about herself, without the worries and constraints of like her family life and all the weight that comes along with the baggage of that, because the story immediately plops you into that kind of complex family situation where she's at the festival and like right when she's getting the mask and like the split with their parents and etc. etc.
So to those who are watching and didn't see the movie for some reason, Mio's parents are divorced. Her mother abandoned them when she was very young, and her father has begun a new relationship with a new woman, and now suddenly Mio's mother wishes to come back into their lives. In fact, not even just Mio's life, but like she wants to get back into a relationship with her father, and it's like, that can be very strenuous on a young person. Like I can't even. I know personally, like I grew up with separated parents, but there was never any conflict between them.
Yeah, you lived with generally a good cohabitation.
Yeah, even with that separation. So like, and that comes with its own baggage. But like, when you're growing up in an environment where you're too stable, you're two rocks, if you would, are constantly like clashing together. like that can be really traumatizing, and
Yeah,
especially
no.
because this movie portrays, and I don't know how true this is to actual life in Japan, but it portrays society as very unkind to those who have a separated family.
Yeah.
Like Mio is teased constantly by the other kids in school about it when she's much younger, and has kind of only survived with one friend of her own age, who kind of helps shine a bit of light on who Mio is to the rest of the cast. And like again, that all those pieces are fine. They could make for an interesting story where you have Mio being tempted by the demon mass seller to give up her humanity and to give up who she is in order to be what somebody else wants. Not necessarily wants her to be, but like wants in general. And that's giving up part of your identity. That's giving up, your responsibilities. That's giving up everything just to please somebody else. And that is a relatable problem. I don't know if any of our listeners have ever seen somebody like that, but I have. And you see those people who are in those relationships where they just kind of like more or less give up on life just to amuse this one person, and it's very sad, and it's a very toxic kind of
Yeah, it's very
relationship.
hard. And for her in particular, like, yeah, she gets into a place where she, like, very openly says that she doesn't want to live, like, amongst people anymore or something to that effect. And that eventually, by meeting Kento, she kind of finds a reason to live, so to speak. And
I
at
don't
first
even I don't think it's not that, it's that she like finds something she enjoys in life. Like she,
Because it's
I
so
wouldn't say she was
one-sided.
giving up. She wasn't giving up on life. She was just giving up on the world, and those are two separate things. And Kento has a similar issue where he is kind of forced to be the family patriarch, or the up and coming family patriarch for his family, since his father's passed away and his grandfather is like showing signs of old age, and he feels that he is constricted to becoming a
businessman or something.
a businessman, or something, when he really
A
wants
salaried
to be
man, and he desires,
he wants to be a clay artist, and it's like,
a
that's
potterer.
cool, but there's no but to that. That's cool, and that's another understandable motivation for this character, and it explains why he's so distant to other people, because he's been putting up this facade that he doesn't need other people, because people are so demanding of him, and that works. That's fine, but again, like, the idea should be, where are these characters going with their problems? How are they trying to solve it, and what problems come along with that? So in Mio's case, like, she wants to abandon her life, or her world, if you would, to stay with Kento, and just become a cat, more or less. Like, she wants to abandon her family life, she wants to abandon her friends, she even wants to abandon the idea of having a mutual relationship with Kento, just so that she can be exactly what she thinks he needs. And the price to that, as the mask seller tells her after the fact, is that she, on top of losing her humanity, she loses half of her lifespan. And so it's like, oh, that's the point. That's the idea. And you can almost see it as like a foreshadow of like, hey, if you give up too much of yourselves, you lose your time, you lose your life. Like, how many people have we seen that like lose themselves to addiction in some sorts, and like literally lose years of their lives to it? And
I mean, that's an interesting
and
comparison.
they can get out of it. They can move past it, but they still have lost that time.
Yeah.
And so you would think that the ultimate, like, that kind of plot scenario would lead to a situation where, oh, we're trying to get our lifespan back, and we're trying to stop the mass salesman, and then they fail, or something like that. And even if she gets back her body, she still knows, like, I've lost so much time now. But then the resolution should be, well, then I just have to make best with the time I have left, you know. I need to not sell my life anymore. I need to not, you know, take for granted the life that I have, because it's much more valuable than I thought it was originally. But instead, we get a very modern Disney-esque ending of, no, we get her lifespan back, and she learns the the value of her current life, and it's all happy, good.
Yeah,
and
like everything about this is
it's
rather,
just so
it's,
like it's cheesecake of the other variety. It's like,
yeah.
Let's not make anybody sad, let's not make anybody upset. Let's just, you know, happy, feel good all the time. When
You and I
like,
are very much annoyed, or rather just unamused by films that ride the middle road, that are just kind of mediocre. Like anything like we watch, we're like, immediately before as soon as you film this, or excuse me, as soon as you finish watching, I always appreciate your knee jerk, because it's really indicative of where I'm going to be doing for like the 30-40 minutes of this podcast. It's like, you're like, I made a mistake. And I'm like,
I think the exact text I sent you was, I've put us down a very dull path.
yeah, something like that. And I was like, yeah, a little bit, but this would be fun in conversation as always. And it's like, I understand, because yeah, this movie very much, not to like put a grade to everything, it's like a very 6 out of 10. The design, like I said, there are elements of the movie that could rise above the average and just be something more interesting. Like the design, like you said, the background art is very well done. I think that the animation is a little bit above average. Everything's very pretty, and the animation effort is definitely there from Colorido. And, you know, like the set design, even though it's not real sets, but, you know, the background arts of things like the Cat Village, you know, very much like Naruto, Hidden Village, kind of Moon of Endor, like in Star Wars, kind of like very interesting
winning
design.
me over here.
It looks interesting, to say the least. But like the essence of the film, you know, as like this sort of like animation fantasy romance, is like pretty dull and pretty homogenous, and just it feels like that we've watched this a million times. And like you said, where a lot of films can go for a more unique story right at the end, like for that, and just to change that one element of the story, to change the end, where like there is a little bit of bittersweetness to the sacrifice at the end, where she maybe loses a little bit of her life force, and then like you can contextualize that and a little bit more of a sobering realization. Instead, you get this sort of, and again, I know a lot of films desire this, you know, to be this sort of theme park ride experience. You go through it and you kind of get this, it makes it kind of lazy for the viewer, but, you know, you just hop onto the ride and you get this sort of euphoric finish. And I get it. Like, it works, and it definitely is designed to reach the largest audience, especially, like, I feel like you and I have talked about how animation feature film, especially these days, is designed in a way to kind of reach the largest audience. Like, you look at Your Name and films of that nature. But yeah, it just feels so samey to what we've experienced before. There's not terribly any elements of it that are unique.
Like, that's the one thing I'll give. That's the one thing I'll give. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. That it like kind of goes for it.
I can't believe I forgot we watched that film.
I still have problems with that film because I think its morals are like iffy and shaky, but at least it tries in certain aspects. Like, it does, but at the same time, it's God, I'm being such a fucking Goldilocks here, where it's like, you know, Whisker Away it doesn't try enough, and you know, Eat My Pancreas tries too hard, but you know, you really do have to find that sweet spot to rise above, and if you're not going to do it in terms of your plot, you got to do it in some other facet, and like neither of those movies do it for me. They just kind of, and again, like you say, it's a 6 out of 10. I'm like I'm trying to retract more and more from numbers, because I feel like it's a really bad way of actually telling people what they will like and not like. But like, in terms of this, it's just very vanilla. Like, if you're looking for a way to pass the time, this is a decent movie to have in the background, because there's cute moments and, like, you know, again, really, really great set pieces and really good background art. So, you know, you'll look over at the screen and suddenly, oh, wow, that's really cool. And then you look down at your phone because you're working or whatever. But none of the plot's very engaging to me.
No,
except for the moment where she gets her love letter read in front of the whole classroom, but that's because I can't deal with cringe personally. I can't get through the British Office. Like, that is the level of bitch I am for cringe.
It just irks your soul, which is what it's designed to do.
It's because I've been there. Not there in particular. I did not get my love letter read aloud in front of the class. That has stayed with me forever.
You're susceptible to embarrassment and things of that nature, and it's like, I get it. But yeah, with regards to this film, like a final thought for me, just to kind of get into surmise what I feel about it, is kind of very similar to yourself as usual. It's like
there are other films, and like I say again, like Your Name, like films from like Makoto Shinkai, who has perfected this sort of Japanese high school, juvenile romance in the feature film form. Your Name, Weathering with You, and to a lesser degree, but to a much better film in my opinion, Garden of Words, where there are films that kind of have the tropey elements of romance, but have much more complex dialogue and relationships. The production value is much better, and this film is just kind of like, I don't know, like the Mr. Pibb to the Dr. Pepper. It's like just it's a lesser version of it. Like, if you want that fix, if you just want like soda, like, yeah, it works. But for me and for you, like, it's not very standoutish, especially with other things popping out right now. Like, I know anime is slowing down due to COVID and a lot of other reasons, external or otherwise, but there are films coming out later this year and other series coming out. Like right now, BNA just popped out, and we love everything Trigger, so we're gonna hop on that. And we're gonna see what the product is. But later this year, there's gonna be like the Violet Evergarden movie premiering in Japan in September. So don't know when that'll be available to us, but we'll try and get a hold of that. And so this, as a feature film, I think the first one that I've really seen this year that I can remember, besides probably, I don't know, I'll have to look back on the video history of our channel. but it's a little lackluster. But
it's
definitely
just
without
very
moral
mediocre.
value.
And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get across, is that like when I'm describing a mediocre film, it's usually that it really is lacking a certain polish in a lot of areas, which is mean to say for like people who worked hard on this. Don't get me wrong, but like, again, there are certain established rules in terms of writing your story that like I feel most people should aspire to, and like this one just kind of meanders away from it. But hey, that's just my opinion.
This is just our opinion, and that's all this is. This is just us talking.
Please don't hurt me. Please don't send your assassins Netflix.
Yeah,
that I know
don't.
you have.
But yeah, we will. I think we'll cut it off there. But we hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any differentiating thoughts or agreeing thoughts or any thoughts in general regarding A Whisker Away, please shout them out below. We'd love to hear if you guys enjoyed the film. Maybe you can kind of sway us. Maybe we've swayed you. But yeah, whatever that is, shoot it in the comments below. Hit the like button. It really does help. Keep us informed of what you guys want to see. And the sub, of course, if you want to get more Otaku Remix conversations. Chris, what is the Twitter handles?
The Otaku Remix. So at the Otaku Remix. Or you can even find me at Houseman2593. That's my own personal one. Brando needs to get his so that I can at him and everything and blah, blah, blah. But we're working on it, folks. We're working on it day by day.
How do you do Twitter?
We finally started making, title cards that are not just absolute trash. So one day at a time. One day at a time.
All right. As always, guys, stay safe. Have a good day. Have a good life. We will see you all on the next one. Take care.
Bye-bye.